Welcome again to the PM Talk Show. This is Pat Marsh, your host. Thank you for joining us yet again on the PM Talk Show. And from an educational perspective, we wanted to bring someone in to talk about what everybody's been hearing a lot about, Tangi Academy, which will be a new charter school, and I think maybe the first of its kind in the Hammond area. I have with us the board president for Tangi Academy, attorney Anthony Maska. How are you today?
I'm well. Thank you, Pat. Thanks for having me. Really excited to be here.
Great, good. Thank you. And there are a lot of questions going on, I'm sure, now about Tangi Academy, where you're going to be, what you're going to do, why you're doing it, and what have you. So we're going to open up the camera now to you and let you just begin to tell us, or maybe answer in your talking, some of the questions that are out there.
To begin with, our project began in 2009 when a bunch of concerned citizens, as you well know, got together in Hammond to look at the possibility of bringing a charter school to Hammond because of the problems with some of the school system, public school system. And we had parents who were products themselves of public schools and believed that a public school education should be viable, should be great. You pay your taxes for it. And enough folks believe that we needed to perhaps do something that hadn't been done before in Hammond to try and make a change. And so that group ultimately came together and began a charter school movement in Hammond. And again, that was around the end of 2009, 2010. And we went about getting business leaders on board, politicians on board, concerned citizens on board. And we had a good group together. We put a charter together, and at the time, this was a little perhaps early in Tangi's history for charter schools. So we went to the school board with our application, and they didn't have quite a defined procedure in place under the law. And so even though we had submitted our application, they were kind of slow to work on it, and we were getting close to deadlines where we had to get either a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And they weren't in a position to do it yet. So we kind of got stuck in a catch-22 locally. That was later rectified. The school system had its procedure in place the following year, so we reapplied. They turned us down. We then got to go to Bessie, the Board of Secondary Education, and we went to Bessie, and they liked our model. The problem we had, if you call it a problem, was we hadn't had a school leader in place. And that was another sort of catch-22 where a good school leader wants some security, and to come on board with you wants to know, have you been given a green light already, because we know it's a school. Whereas Bessie wants to see your school leader in place before they give you the green light. And so John White understood this, and John White gave us a conditional approval, which I don't know that had been done before for a Type 2 charter. But John gave us a conditional approval saying, we're going to give you all 6 months to find the school leader, come back, interview now with your plan with the school leader. We did that. We did an exhaustive search. We came up with what we believe were 2 excellent candidates, and our final choice was a woman who had spent half a lifetime in the Catholic school system. And so we went with her as our lead candidate. She had been an associate superintendent. She'd been a principal. She'd been a school teacher for years. So she actually helped restart 2 schools after Katrina. And that's what we did. We're starting a school. We want somebody with administrative experience, fundraising, starting a school, all that. Ultimately, it didn't work out as far as Bessie was concerned. They had problems with her non-public school experience. And Common Core had not been fully implemented yet, and there were a lot of questions about her not having even any experience in the public school system and what would she do with Common Core. And unfortunately, that set us back another year. Well, our second candidate, Lauren Chapman, became our first candidate. Lauren was an assistant principal for 4 years at a charter in New Orleans East. She worked at John McDonough. She was there actually when Oprah Winfrey was taping her series. Lauren was in the school and in that program. Lauren's an excellent leader. She's got an excellent reputation. She's got charter school experience. She's familiar with Common Core. She covered all of our bases for us. And we went through the process this past year. Again, Tangi school system declined to work with us as a type 1, put us back into the position of going to Bessie. We went to Bessie, we got our approval, and it was recently formalized in August.
Okay. Tell us the difference between a type 1 and a type 2 charter school.
A type 1 charter school is where a group can go to the local school system, school board, and apply to work with them to open a school. And in that case, although the charter board would govern that one school, they would be reporting to the parish school system. And the parish school system would have ultimate say and ultimate benefit, if you will, over a charter that does well.
Okay.
And they could share resources and share services to benefit both the charter school and the existing school system. And we went with that model at first because we thought Tangi may be interested to work with us and take advantage of some of those benefits, and certainly things like the busing and the food servicing you could share, have contracts with them. And again, if the school does well, the parish school system gets the bump in the performance score. And that's the benefits and sort of the outline of a type 1. A type 2 is where you have made your application, the local school board says no thank you, and you can then go to the state, the Board of Secondary Education. If they will approve you, then they are who you report to. You do not report to the local school board. You report to Bessie quarterly through all of your financing, through all of the mission statement. Bessie's the one that looks over the school and makes sure that the local school board of trustees, if you will, is doing what it needs to do to make sure the school works and the children are getting educated. Okay.
What would any charter school offer kids that a public school would not or would offer them? Well, what would be the difference?
Let me answer that by saying we have to understand, and want everybody to understand who's watching, a charter school is a public school.
Yeah.
Okay. Open enrollments, all the general rules of a public school apply to a charter school. A charter has the benefit of having some relaxed rules that the local school board doesn't have the benefit of, such as there are discipline rules that we can tweak to our advantage, so we're not spending a lot of time on discipline, which seems to be an issue in the public school system. If you heard the arguments, a lot of it has to do with how much time teachers are taken away from dealing with any kind of discipline issues. So we've got some flexibility and a little less red tape than some of the public school can use. And therefore, what the charter can offer is sort of innovative ideas to deliver education in the public school setting. And so specifically for us, we have partnered with young audiences. And our charter is going to be an arts integrated charter. Our motto is achieving academic excellence through arts integration and individual creativity. So that's our school motto. And what does that mean? What is Young Audience is going to do for us? Well, Young Audience is a nonprofit company who help deliver education to children using the arts, music, dance, song, literature, anything that can be considered an art or a fine art, painting. They partner with us and we arrive at instructional methods for the day's learning using arts in the program. And by that, this is not something like Glee or a dance academy or anything like that. This is, for instance, I like to use the idea of a math problem. If you've got a child that doesn't necessarily understand fractions, doesn't understand 4 quarters make a dollar or 4 quarters you make a whole, if you ask that child, what's your favorite song? And they'll give you a song they like. And you tell them, okay, well that song that you're tapping your foot to, you're counting beats right there. And you might tap to 4 beats in a measure. And 4 beats in a measure, they might understand, yeah, okay, I've tapped 4 times and I like the song and I understand that. Well now, if you tell them 4 beats in the measure equals 4 parts of a dollar. And now they may make that connection that they couldn't just look at a blackboard and make, but now tapping their foot and understanding their music and their specific song, and they say, okay, 4 beats in a measure. Well, now you've learned to count music and you've learned to do fractions. Okay. So that's a simple example of how you may be able to reach and connect with children using the arts as a tool.
Okay.
We're not focusing on arts. We are using arts as a tool to teach reading and math and science and history.
Things that they're going to need if they go on to college or to VOTEC school.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Now, I've had an opportunity to see some of the things that young audiences do. They were at the Heritage Center, I think last year or the year before, and this summer they were at the library in Amite, and I just sat in, especially at the library, and just to see the interactions from the kids on things that they were having a problem with, and all of a sudden when they put it to music, they picked it up just like that. So I think that's a good idea. Now, when you look at people enrolling, and we're going to go into the second half and talk more about that, but just briefly, how do you get enrolled in your program?
We have a website, tangiacademy.org, and we will be making public announcements. We will be going to all of the social media that we can. We will let everybody know when our enrollment period is going to begin. By law, it's supposed to begin no later than the second Monday, I believe, in October, and continue on through sometime in March.
Okay.
We are in a position right now where we don't have definitives yet because the state and Bessie are finalizing their new Type 2 contracts. So we're waiting to finalize our contract with Bessie. Once we have that down, we will have a definitive timetable as to when we can start enrollment, taking applications, getting everything rolling in that way. We've previously done some surveying, and we've had people fill out interest forms. We've had over, I think, 300 in the last 2 years. So we know we've got about 190 to 200 seats to fill. We believe we'll have more than that. If we do have more than that, by state law, we have to go into a lottery. And the lottery system, we have to hire a third party to run probably an accounting company, to run the lottery for us. All names would go into a hat, and you have to start picking names at random until you fill up those 190 or so seats.
Okay.
But that process will be rolling forward sometime in the middle of October. Again, I'm sorry I can't be more definitive because we're not finalized yet, but that's when we see it happening.
But Bessie is the oversight for all of it for
Absolutely.
you in Type 2.
Correct.
Okay, well, we're getting ready to go for a break, and when we come back, we'll delve more into part 2 of where you're going to be and what courses you plan to offer, and just to get the information out in the minds of the people right now. We're going for a break, and we'll be right back.
At shelters, you'll discover healthy and loving animals just waiting to become a part of your family. Why wait? You can make a difference in the life of an animal. A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person and adopt your new best friend today. To find out more, visit theshelterpetproject.org.
Welcome back to the PM Talk Show. This is Pat Marsh, your host. We have with us attorney Anthony Maska. He's the president of the board of directors for the Tangi Academy. And as you all know, Tangi Academy is getting ready to open its first charter school in Hammond. Mr. Maska, before we went to break, we were talking about various aspects of what your school is going to offer. Do you know any of the types of courses or the caliber of people that you will be opening or working with?
Well, for the types of courses we're going to have, let me explain the school. Our initial layout will be 2 kindergartens, first, second, third, fourth, and a 5th grade.
Okay.
And the reason for that is we're going to get a lot of transfers, obviously, and we want to build the culture of the school at the lower levels. So 2 kindergartens starts so that by their second year, their third year, we're going to have a good group of children who are immersed in our culture, not just transfers. Because again, transfers may come in with cultures from where they came from, their school cultures that may not have worked for them, and it may take a while to help mold them in our culture and get them to see the learning the way we'd like them to see it. So we don't expect immediate results out of the box. However, starting with more kids at the young age and then moving them up, we're hoping to go from a 5th grade to a 6th grade and then a 6th to a 7th. And after year 2, we'll be looking at possible expansion if we're doing well. But so that's our starting idea: 2 kindergartens and a first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. We'll have teachers in permanent teachers for every class. We'll have paras to help. Now, types of students. Number one, for type 2 charters, we have to reach the demographic by law for Tangi, and we have a disadvantaged demographic of around, economically disadvantaged demographic around 73%. So there are a whole spectrum of definitions as to what is this economic disadvantage, but that would include children who are already on lunch assistance, a child with a child, for instance, a child who's had disciplinary problems recently and may have been kicked out of a school. We have to meet that demographic, which we intend to do. And then the other portion of our demographic that the law addresses would be children with disabilities. And from the start of our program, we have had a strong push towards an inclusive model for children with disabilities. We've heard stories of charters that have cherry-picked, if you will, meaning they'll pick students with disabilities that aren't that severe, a hearing disability, an eyesight disability, and then say, we have the disabled children we need, we're done. We're going to be the opposite. Whatever the disability is, whatever the individual plan is going to be for that child, we're looking to have those children. We're looking to envelope them in our culture. We're looking to have them included in our school classes as well as individual instruction, not sort of an all-day individual period with other kids with disabilities. We want these children in our classes. We want them learning with their peers for as often as possible to reach them at their level and help them progress at their level. But we truly believe, because we have parents with children with disabilities working with us, and we know their complaints, and we know the hardships they've gone through just in the school system with a lot of the red tape and a lot of services that aren't necessarily delivered to the fullest for the children. So our aim is to make sure that the children we get with any types of disabilities, we open the door to all those families and all those children. They will be full-fledged members of our classrooms. They will be in the classrooms as often as possible.
Well, that's good to hear, because we do have a lot of disabled children, and there are problems in the SPED department that we are aware of. Now, as far as the curriculum goes, what types of classes? I know your basic classes you're going to have science and math and reading, right, but is there any other thing?
Well, being kindergarten through 5, we're going to concentrate on getting the basic foundation: math, reading, science, history. What perhaps puts a little bit of a twist on our school would be the arts integration versions of those subjects, so that the children will also be learning about art, about music, about literature, about dance, about song, while they're learning those basic fundamentals. So we really have a push to get the fundamentals to the children. And again, part of what we can do is try and reach kids a little differently than perhaps where they may be. You know, the downside for me of the educational system in the public school is that whether you're in Kentwood or Ponchatoula on Monday, perhaps at 10:30 in the morning, if it's social studies time, all teachers throughout the parish are supposed to be on page 111 of the social studies book. We don't have that restriction or constriction of the teaching model, and so we can, like I said, we can have individual delivery with the teachers and the young audience's assistants with us. So if you have a special story or a special learning project that some of the children get, some others don't, we can have that individual work and individual time with them to deliver using the arts integration model, where if the majority of the class gets it, great. If a couple don't, we'll find a different way to reach those kids. But that's always going to be the goal, is reaching all of them wherever they are, and using the arts to do it.
I was watching the news on yesterday afternoon, and State Superintendent John White was on, and he was saying that beginning next school year, 2015, that in order for a person to teach in the public schools, they're going to have to be certified. Will that be the same thing with you all?
We are looking to have certified teachers. Absolutely. We believe that is one of the standards that we should reach, and certainly if that applies, I can't say right now whether that does apply to the charters, but I know from the beginning we've been looking to have certified teachers wherever possible, because we believe that is an indicator of the level of professionalism and training that they can bring to children.
What about, you mentioned parental involvement with people with special needs, but any other parental and community involvement? What are you looking for?
Our plan is to reach the community where we're going to be with direct involvement from the teachers, a parent center to have folks come in, spend time in the school. Our discipline model is one that's going to include a parent in school after a second offense to spend time with their child, and stay part of the day with the child after a second offense, and understand if the behavior needs to change, then that's when the parent can help. And the parent doesn't necessarily want to be in the school for 3 or 4 hours with their child, so hopefully that part of the message gets through before you maybe move to stage 3 of any kind of discipline issue. But absolutely, it's critical that we get, our culture will involve all the families. We hope to be one big family, really. And having people come in, you've heard plenty of arguments about there's not enough family involvement, we don't necessarily believe family involvement is the one major thing that would stop a child from learning. Okay? We think you can reach a child. If the child comes from a horrible family environment or the best in the world, both of those children can learn. You have to be able to reach them. If we can help get the families to understand better through some modeling that we're doing about the importance of making sure perhaps that workbooks are done, or if they're having problems teaching their children because they've never been taught how to teach a child, that's an involved process. I mean, just because you have a child doesn't mean you understand how to teach. And so that's part of our idea of having the community place in our school where interested parents come in and be taught, for instance, watch what we're doing when they're at home. If they have questions about this type of homework assignment, here's what you can work on. If you're not sure about it, here's a resource for you. Have internet options, have email options for folks, have copying options for parents. Get them involved as they want to be, but we certainly are asking for the commitment from the parents to make sure that the child is ready for school, ready to learn, and comes with the best attitude they can come with to learn. And then to the extent that we can help, we're going to reach out and do all that we can to make that easier for parents. But like I said, we're not of the mindset that if you don't change the home necessarily, then a child can't learn, and therefore, there's nothing we can do. We don't subscribe to that mindset.
Right. Well, that's interesting, because it's going to take that entire village to help one child, and certainly as much parental involvement as is possible can help. And we've found, even in the things that we deal with as a civic organization, one of the first things I let parent know is that I'm going to help you this time, but I want you to get involved, because we can't obviously be there every day.
Correct.
But you need to know what's working for us, and hopefully that same thing will work for you. Where are you going to be located?
Well, right now we are planning to be at the African American Heritage Museum, 1600 Phoenix Square, which was a prior school a couple of years back. I know folks neighbors I have actually went to the school when it was there. But we're in flux with Bessie, so we can't finalize anything because we still need to see what our requirements are going to be from Bessie.
Right.
But that is the plan right now.
Right. And do you have any closing comments?
I want to thank you for having me on. I would like everybody to just understand that charter schools are public schools. They offer parents choice. They promote competition, which I believe can only make the ultimate outcome of educated students better.
Right. Well, we thank you for coming, and we plan to have you back as you continue to progress in. We want you to be mindful of the fact that advertisements will be out as to when you can start signing your kids up to become a member of Tangi Academy. We know that young audiences work because we've seen them in action, and they are good. They are really good. Well, this is Pat Marsh, your host, saying we thank you for continuing to join us, and we want you to know and continue to know that knowledge is powerful. It does matter. Thank you for joining us. Have a great and a blessed week. God bless.